Padel is growing in the US, and because pickleball is so massive, we're seeing lots of players who play pickleball try and come across to padel. And I've been fortunate enough myself to play the game, so we're going to give you 3 tips on how you can go from pickleball to padel and start improving your game. Tip number 1 is that on the padel court, especially when you're learning, you want to use your continental grip for all of your shots. So whether it's your serve, return, your volleys, your overheads, using the glass, all of this would be in your continental grip, and you're moving your hand, your wrist and your body in order to hit this shot. To find your continental grip, you put the hand through the loop, because this is also a rule in padel, and you can either slide your hand down the grip, but it's also called the chopping and shaking hands grip. It should be on top of the racket where the V in your palm here between your thumb and your index finger are on the top of the racket, and it should be comfortable. You want to be in a place here where this is like your trigger finger and it's at a slight angle, almost 110 degrees. You don't want it to be rigid in your hand like that, and you shouldn't be over squeezing. So you're in the continental grip with a relaxed hand, and that way you can really control the wrist and therefore the ball on your shots. Before we talk about the next tip, you should know that we have a platform online that has roadmaps for every level of the game. So if you're a beginner, we have a beginner roadmap, intermediate, advanced, and it takes you through all of the areas of the game that you need to know at that level. And it's all done chronologically so that you know you need to focus on this, and then you move to the next part of the game, and then the next part of the game. And when you complete that roadmap, you're ready to move up to the intermediate part or the advanced part, depending on where you are. We also have separate courses on every area of the game. So there's tactics courses, overheads courses, technical courses, mental courses. There's everything in there to improve your game. So if you haven't, we're doing a 7-day free trial. Go and check it out, thepadelschool.com, and you can sign up and immediately get access to myself and the other coaches. We have a private community where you can actually send videos of your game, and we work on that with you to help give you those tips. Tip number 2 is that topspin is rarely used in padel. Either if you're at the back of the court and you drill a ball with topspin to your opponents at net, they can just leave that ball and it's going to bounce off the glass. And because it has topspin, it's going to bounce and hit the glass and come up, making it easier for your opponents. And the same applies with your volleys. You do not come across that ball hitting topspin for the same reason that the ball will bounce, come off the glass, and actually in padel, when the ball contacts the glass, it slows down. So if it's also got topspin on it, that means it's going to be that much easier for your opponents to return. When you're learning at the back of the court in padel, you really want to try and play that ball flat. Don't worry, tennis players also find this difficult because they're used to topspin and slice on their backhand. But if you can learn to hit flat, both on the shots down to the feet of your opponent or with your lobs, then it will mean that you can go for the shot or the area on the court without taking unnecessary risk. And that is a key tactic for padel, is consistency and patience here. So you want to see if you can learn from the back of the court to try and hit all your balls flat if you can. Then when you get to your net position, you want to volley with a little bit of slice if you can, so just brushing down the outside of the ball. Remember, unlike pickleball and tennis, the objective is not just to hit past your opponents because they've got a wall behind them. So you want to place the ball with a little bit of slice so that the rebound is not easy for your opponent. So when it comes to volleying, this is an occasion where you'd want to hit a tiny bit of slice on that ball in padel so that it can be tough for your opponents. Tip number 3 is understand the lob in padel. I learnt this the hard way in pickleball, that the lob is not a major part of the game, but in padel it's huge. You use it to attack and to take the net. You also use it to defend and to buy yourself time. The typical padel point at pro level is 7 or 8 lobs per point, and that is a lot of lobs in a point, and we're always recommending recreational players to hit more lobs. So if you're coming from pickleball, it's really important that you understand the lob is a huge shot to use in padel. Now, a great way to get this into your game if you're new to padel is to try and get the easy ball so you can hit your dink. In padel that's called a chiquita, down to the toes of your opponent, force an easy ball and then use the lob. It's not like pickleball where you'll have dink after dink after dink in order to try and get a ball that's slightly higher, because you have the lob. So once you hit that ball down to the feet, you get the ball that you want, you would then hit over your opponents, forcing them to the back of the court. And so a great way is at the beginning, if you are coming from pickleball, just try and use the lob as much as you can to get it into your game. Use that dink or chiquita, that's great, but then after that, use that lob to push your opponents back. I thoroughly enjoyed learning a bit about pickleball and playing some games. Let us know down in the comments if you tried both sports and which one you enjoy, or how you found your transition from pickleball to paddle, and if you want to add any tips for those also moving across. If you want to take your paddle learning seriously, up here I'm going to put a link to thepadelschool.com where you can join and have access to all of our platform and all of our content. And then down here I'm also going to give you a video on how you can transition from tennis to paddle, because that is also a common track for players to move across.